Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you clicked on today's video, it's about 40 minutes I think, and the next one should be around the same or maybe an hour long. So if you can, actually it'd be great to pop this on just in the headphones and just listen. The first part, which you clicked on, of this two-part series will be regular season kind of non-season awards. I'll put them up on the screen for you guys to see. And then towards the end of this video, we're going to get into some bold predictions, some hot takes kind of. I think you guys will really enjoy it. But before we get into the video, I'm going to introduce you guys to the Light Skins podcast, the two co-stars of that podcast. One of them being Ryan Bevins, actually where the podcast is uploaded on his channel. I'll have the channel linked in the description. It's IB is the name of the channel. And he does a lot of good basketball content, basketball related content on that channel. He does rebuilds and things like we're doing right now, just talking about the NBA. The other co-host of the Light Skins podcast, I'm being joined by a friend of mine, Bryant Valdez. But without further ado, you guys have seen the topics. We're going to get into the first two. It'll be our predictions for the best record in the regular season for both respective conferences.
What team's going to have the best record in the Western Conference this year?
I'll probably go with the Thunder. I think they really didn't have to do much in the offseason. And them keeping the same core and just building with J-Dub and Shea and Chet. I mean, that's a great starting core right there. So I don't really see no drop-off from them. I think the Nuggets, if anything, will take a drop-off slightly. I think it'll take time for it to get adjusted with Jamal Murray's injury and Westbrook's addition to the club. But I think the Thunder will probably be the same, the first seed this year again.
Got you. What about you, Joe?
So were we talking more like for both conferences, or are we just saying the best record from all teams?
Best record. We'll do Western Conference first, then Eastern Conference.
Okay, so the Western Conference, yeah, I'm with you on the Thunder. They just got a lot better. Alex Caruso coming off the bench, which I'll get into a little more later, but he's a great pickup for them. Defensively, they're locked in and they can all shoot. So I'm going with the Thunder.
I think it's a clean sweep. We all had OKC getting the best record here. Honestly, it just makes the most sense. They're a team that's hella young. It's not a team that's has multiple playoff runs in their rear view mirror. Like, they're young and hungry. They're gonna be eager to get out and run. They got some new reinforcements with Hartenstein and Caruso. They didn't lose anybody. They already had a lot of depth, and they increased their depth. They're a young team, and J-Dub, Chet, Shea still getting better. Case and Wallace is going into a year or two after a very promising rookie season. So I think OKC is the team that makes the most sense to pick them to have the best record out west. I do want to see how they operate, though, with kind of like a target on their back, because last year they kind of came out of nowhere,
right.
And this year they're not going to be sneaking up on anybody. So I just want to see how they respond, and obviously all three of us are confident that they will respond in a positive manner. So that's a lot of vote of confidence in the OKC Thunder from all three of us. Let's move out east. Who do we think is going to have the best record out east? We'll start with you, Joe.
So for me, out east, it's gonna be Boston again. It's still a weak conference. They're getting better, but I don't see anyone taking Boston off that spot. The Knicks, maybe. I don't have high hopes for the Bucks doing anything there. But really, Boston would, if we were talking both conferences, Boston should have the best record in the NBA. And a big thing for me is Jason Tatum's coming into this season with the chip on his shoulder. So, and he's a great regular season player, so I feel like he's going to handle his business there. And the Celtics themselves will.
Gotcha. And for you, Bryant?
Yeah, I gotta go with Joe too. I mean, Celtics, they're riding high off the championship. I think they have a great start to the season. They kept all the key pieces they needed, so I don't really see a drop off with them. I say Celtics first seed.
And I'm gonna be the black sheep here. I'm taking the Knicks. The Knicks are getting the 1 seed out east. I'm not saying the Celtics are gonna have a major drop off per se, but they did have. They're coming off a championship run. Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday. They did play in the Olympics. I know Tatum didn't really play much, but I mean, he was there. You know, he was practicing and clapping and getting Gatorade. So some of their prominent players were in an Olympic run, and this Knicks team is reloaded. They had a really good regular season last year, and that was with Julius Randle missing like the last 30 games of the season, OG Anunoby being in and out of the rotation, Mitchell Robinson missing time, and Jalen Brunson was really carrying the load offensively, and he was able to get them a 50-win season. Now hopefully they'll have OG Anunoby for a healthy full season. Just brought in Mikal Bridges, bringing in Karl Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson's workload is going to be not at an all-time low, but it's going to be significantly lower than what it was last year. I think this team is built to hang up a lot of wins this year, and I think they'll be hungry to do so. So I'm going to say that they get high 50 wins, like 57 or 58, and maybe the Celtics won't be too prioritized with getting the number 1 seed this year. They might take their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, but that doesn't mean they're a worse team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could give you that. If the Celtics feel like they don't need that number 1 seed because they should win through the playoffs, and I can see the Knicks sneaking in there for sure, especially for the similar reasons. They're not necessarily when you talked about OKC, how they kind of had that target on their back. I don't think the Knicks are quite there yet in the Eastern Conference. They definitely are one of those teams with the target on their back, but with Cat there now, it's a little different team. So, yeah, I could see them sneaking in there too.
Great.
All right, this next portion of the video is going to be teams you got to look out for this season. They could be fringe teams. It could just be a team that's going to fight for some regular season standings. Maybe give some of these juggernauts a hard time when they do match up in the 3 to 4 games in the regular season. Something else to mention, if you guys have any other predictions that we didn't mention, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Or if you don't like our predictions, leave that in the comments too. We'd like to see what you guys think, how it matches up with what we think. But anyway, 3 teams to look out for.
Give me 3 of them. We'll start with you, Joe. Go 1 through 3. What are your 3 teams that you're looking out for this season?
Okay, I'll give you 3. I'm not gonna get super in depth on all of them, but I'll give you 3 of them. The first one's gonna be Memphis for obvious reasons. They got Ja back, and I just see them being a real threat to any team that they match up with in the regular season or the playoffs. The next team I'd go with is the Spurs. I feel like Wemby, and we'll get into the bold predictions later because Wemby is part of my bold prediction. I have very high hopes for Wemby this year, and especially I know Chris Paul doesn't look nearly what he did even last year. Like, he's just looking worse and worse every year. But he's someone that has high level, basketball IQ. He's gonna know how to get Wemby into his spots. Not just like everyone's talking about the lobs. I'm talking about getting him where he wants to be. You know what I mean?
Entry passes and whatnot.
Yeah, and so I'm sure they're talking and communicating about that a lot, and I feel like we're going to see a spark. And the other thing is their ball movement's looking a little more, at least I know it's preseason, but their ball movement's looking very Spurs-like. They're moving the ball a little differently this year, it seems. So, yeah, sorry. What was the teams to look out for? It was the Spurs. My next one was going to be the Lakers, actually. I have a few more on here, but I think the Lakers, JJ Redick was a good pickup, I feel like. When I watched the again, this is more preseason, but they are moving the ball like extremely well. There's a lot of off-ball actions going on, which we're not really used to. We're used to just seeing a lot of AD pick and roll. Maybe they get 2 of them in, and then a shot goes up. It's very slow. And what the off-ball actions will do is it gets everyone involved, and that's kind of what we need because we have a very fleshed out roster, it seems, but not enough people are involved. So I would say the Lakers would be my 3rd pick.
The fluidity of the offense does look like it's reflecting something that a coach is actually implementing. I felt like more often than not when I watched the Lakers offense the last year and a half or 2 years or whatever, I couldn't say like, oh yeah, Darvin Ham is placing his offensive emphasis on this aspect of the game. It was kind of just like, Bron and AD run the show, everybody play off of it. So it is refreshing to see like more handoffs and off-ball movement from Reeves and D'Lo and getting everybody involved. I want to see them commit to that in the regular season. I don't want it to be like a fluke thing that's tried out in the preseason. I want them to actually commit to it and develop it throughout an entire 82 game season. So that, that they're comfortable with it going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Ryan? Though, what are your 3 teams?
I might shock you with some things, but I'd probably go with the first. I'd go with the Spurs. I think CP3 is actually a huge addition for the Spurs. Last year, the problem was they didn't have a real point guard. They had Jeremy Sohan running the point, and he wasn't the best. He was kind of awful at it. So I think him playing probably be like small forward, power forward. I think that'd be a better position for him to play, and I just think the ball would, like Joe said, probably be Spurs like back then. Second team, I'm gonna shock you. I'm gonna go with the Warriors. I think the losing Klay Thompson is an addition, not a plus. I think he was a cancer in the locker room last year.
Mm-hmm.
Addition by subtraction.
Yes.
Worrying about his money, and he was acting like a crybaby, not shaking Curry's hand. It was just a bad mess on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think getting him off that team is a plus, not a negative. So I think they'll be better team chemistry throughout the season. And then the last one, I'll probably go with the Phoenix Suns. I think this is their year to be all healthy. And I think they're going to make some noise in the Western Conference with all those 3 together, all healthy. And then Tyus Jones, too, which they needed a point guard, and now they have a true point, not worrying about his shot that can get KD, Book, and Beal open shots. So hopefully, and then you got a new coach, too.
Right.
Who has a championship, so I think that's going to be a big plus. So those are my 3 teams.
I like it. I have a bold prediction about the Suns, or about one of their players, so we'll get to that when we get to that road. So for my 3 teams, I also had the Grizzlies for a lot of the reasons you said, Joe, but I don't want to talk about them. I want to give 3 different teams.
Mm-hmm.
The next team on the pecking order for me was the Pelicans, because there's a lot of buzz about who's going to play the 5. I know they've been hinting at playing some Zion at the 5, some Herb Jones at the 5. In the preseason, they really opted to actually play their centers in Daniel Tice and Yves Missi, their draft pick. I want to see them actually commit to it in the regular season, because we saw PJ Tucker at the 5 4 years ago with the Rockets, and it was fun as hell. James Harden and Russell Westbrook just operating in pick and rolls and ISO 5 out. Obviously, that team had a ceiling, but it was different. So I just want to see if the Pelicans do commit to it for a 10 or 20 game stretch, how it will look. Also want to see DeJounte Murray running the point guard again in his natural position. Now that he's not playing next to Trae Young, he can actually run the point for New Orleans and move CJ off ball, get Zion spoon-fed, get BI in his positions and whatnot. That team is deep as hell. So the Pelicans are always like a X Factor team going into every season, especially this season. The next team on my list is the Orlando Magic. For the reason that they're a young team, they had a very promising year last year, shocked a lot of people. Had a good round 1 against Cleveland. Paolo had a very, very slept-on year too. He was an all-star in his second year, which doesn't happen very often, and he was damn good. I'd really want to look and see how Jalen Suggs has an impact on this team's offense, specifically running the show a bit more, because they really needed more of an offensive punch from that point guard position, and they didn't get a lot of it last year, and it's kind of what held them back. Opting to move Jalen Suggs to the point guard position again, where he can play more like he played at Gonzaga instead of just being this off-ball 3-and-D wing that he really bought into last season. I want to really see how impactful he can be there, especially with KCP coming in, improving their shooting, hopefully. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of buying stock in the Magic. I think they're going to have a really good year and improve on what they did last season. The next team I have is going to surprise you guys. I have the Bulls on here as my 3rd team. Lonzo, he had a solid, return to the NBA in his first preseason game. Zach LaVine has looked pretty good in the preseason as well. They have a lot of guards, a lot of people in the backcourt, especially with Kobe White coming off his really promising year last season. I want to really see how Chicago juggles that. Are they going to prioritize acclimating Zach LaVine back into the rotation? Are they going to prioritize Kobe White's development? Are they going to try to build up the value of Zach LaVine so that they can trade him to a contender? Same thing with Vucevic. Matas Buzelis is a really intriguing rookie that I want to see a lot more of. I don't think they're going to be a great team. I don't think they're going to be a bad team, but I think they'll be an up and down team, one that's fun to watch, that'll play fast with a lot of athletes and Lonzo kind of orchestrating that offense. So I think this will be a funner team to watch, especially with DeMar DeRozan not on the team anymore. Not to say he's a bad player, but his play style does slow down the game with him being so ISO oriented. I think the Bulls are going to run up and down a lot more now that they're younger with less ISO play.
I like that. Good pick.
Yeah, I agree. All right, this next section we're going to get into is breakout players. Similar to the last section on teams to look out for, this was just kind of, it's in the along the lines of most improved. These are guys that we don't think will win a most improved. Their numbers won't be good enough or something like that maybe. But we're mainly looking at, based on their situation, will they have a better season than last year or be in the right position to mesh well with their respective teams? Actually, that kind of leads into, you want to do the next, I'll lead off this next one, because I think it kind of leads into it. So this next one we're doing is for breakout players, who we think breakout players are going to be. And you brought up the Magic. One of my first player I had on there was Jalen Suggs, because he's going to have a lot of opportunities to lead that break, get some more assists, kind of get that offense flowing. The other one I had, I have two others. One of them I'm not too big on. The next one I have is I'm pretty big on this one though. Is Dante DiVincenzo. I feel like he's in a great position for himself right now. He probably see the same amount of minutes, but he's coming off of a really good shooting year, and that team needs more than anything is the spacing right now. And so
that man was talking spicy in his game back in New York.
He's got that chip on his shoulder. He's ready to play. So, and he's a plus defender. So it's just helping the Timberwolves. He's the only reason I was okay with the Cat trade, to be honest, because I feel like they'll eventually get off of Randall, and DiVincenzo, they can just re-sign him. He's there to stay. I feel like he's just a solid piece. But the next one I had, this is maybe an odd one to you guys, because it kind of depends on your criteria of what a breakout player is. It's Zubac, and it's because
interesting.
You're gonna have a very Harden-centric offense over there, and Harden's biggest thing is pick and rolls. So he's such an efficient scorer. Like this is another player that I wish we just didn't get rid of in LA. Like, and I forget who, Mike Muscala. Who did we get?
Mike Muscala. Hell yeah! It's
like, bro, what? Dude went like fucking 2 for 40 on 3. It was crazy, but yeah, I think Zubac is one to look out for. Not like a most improved player or anything, but like he's gonna have a good season, I think, this year.
I like those. I definitely wasn't expecting the Zubac pick, but it does make sense with Harden being a lot more of the focal point of the offense now, with PG gone and Kawhi missing. Whoever knows how long he's going to be gone, the offense is going to revolve around the pick and roll essentially, and it's going to feature a lot of James Harden and Zubac action, so he should profit off of that. I'll dive into mine now. I'm going to start out with Jonathan Kuminga. With Klay Thompson gone, there's a lot of shot attempts that are going with him as well. Kuminga is really the X factor for the Warriors here. He's their top young prospect, who they can either build with in the future if he has a super high ceiling, if he can be that guy next to Curry as he goes into the latter stages of his career. What is his offensive ceiling? How can he continue to rise as a shot creator? Can he be a building block for the Warriors for the future, or can he build up his trade value to be the main focal point of a trade in which the Warriors make one last swing at it to get Curry another star and another championship run? So I think the Warriors are going to make him the focal point of the offense a lot more, to either continue his progression to be a focal point of the future, or to continue building up his trade value to try to get a star on the open market if one of them is available. So that's my reasoning for Kuminga. Next, I have Christian Brown on Denver. I think his usage is going to go up. 2 off seasons ago, they lost Bruce Brown. This offseason, they lost KCP. Now it's time for Christian Brown to really step into the fold and be that that Swiss Army knife wing that defends whoever the top player in the backcourt is, who's a reliable catch and shooter, a reliable cutter off of Jokic post ups. Just being that KCP replacement, that Bruce Brown replacement. He's only going into year 3, so he's still got a lot of basketball ahead of him, and he's still got a lot of development ahead of him. I think he's going to be a next factor for Denver if they want to return to the championship this year or for years to come. Lastly, I have Evan Mobley. For similar things that I said for Kuminga and Brown, but Evan Mobley obviously has the highest ceiling out of these 3. He's going to be the X factor for Cleveland and how high they can go, what their ceiling is, if they can be an Eastern Conference contender, if they can make it to the championship. I think his development, particularly on the offensive end, we know what he can do on the defensive end. He has Defensive Player of the Year type potential, but can he develop on the offensive end to be, they call him Slim Duncan? Can he be anything? Can he live up to that at all? Can he continue to grow in his high post-up game? He's a pretty efficient pick-and-roll scorer and finisher off of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland action, but in terms of individual shot creation, can he be that third guy, a third reliable guy behind Donovan and Darius? I think that's going to dictate this team's ceiling.
Bryant, what about you?
My first one, I might shock y'all, but I'm going with Kevin Porter Jr. for the Clippers. With the absence of Kawhi being out for the whole year, I think this will take a load off Harden's offense, so he doesn't have to do the whole thing by himself. I mean, people forget he was an ISO scorer with Houston. He averaged 19 the last time he played with Houston in 2022. And then the past 2 years he's playing overseas because of issues he's dealt with. But I think Kevin Porter Jr. is going to have a breakout year for the Clippers. I don't think it's going to lead to any success, but I think he's going to stand out this year for the Clips. Next one, I'm going with Buddy Hield. I think he's going to play a factor with the Warriors. Ryan talked about Kuminga. I'm going with Buddy Hield. I think he's a good replacement for Klay Thompson. He's younger and he has less injuries. And I think he might be, I think he's up there with Steph, and who's ever had the most made threes in the past 5 years. I think he's up there with them.
Yeah, I think he's higher than Steph just because Steph is missing time. So
I think in his last 2 years, he's averaged 12 points. So I think I can see him easily averaging like at least 16 plus. The amount of open shots he's going to get from Draymond Green and Steph Curry. So I think that's a really good pickup for the Warriors. And my last one, it's a rookie. I'm going with Rob Dillingham from the Timberwolves. I think he's been playing amazing in the preseason. I got a hot take for him later on, but I think a great pick for the Wolves. They need a point guard, and I feel that's a great pick for him. He's an ISO scorer, but that can take the load off of Edwards. I think that's a really good draft pick from them.
I was going to say, can a rookie be a breakout player? Because we haven't seen them do anything in the NBA. I think from the sense of, I don't think we're expecting I don't think most people are expecting Rob Dillingham to have like the season that you're having. So I guess from that sense, I could see it as like a breakout. It's unexpected if you're thinking he can be that impactful.
All right, so for the final portion of the video, this is where I really want you guys to be in the comment section, if you made it this far, is we're going into our bold predictions, our hot takes. If you got any, we love the hot takes. One of my favorite segments that the Odd Couple does is the hot seat. And basically they'll have someone come in with the hot take and defend their take. And this is kind of how that felt a little bit in this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. That's going to be the last segment for this episode. If you liked it, please leave a like. Subscribe if you guys are new. And look in the description because IB's channel is going to be there. I'm going to link the podcast, our podcast. They're old at this point. They're all last season's podcast. If you're interested in watching them or listening to them, feel free. They're great on a drive. But mainly it's just to get you guys over to that channel because we will be uploading for this season as well. Without further ado, let's get into this last topic. So, like I said earlier, I was big on Wemby, and I'd get more into him a little later. I'm not going as far as an MVP, obviously. Like, that's crazy. But I see him. I'll start it off with I see him making a first team All NBA. Okay, All NBA defense. Okay, first team. And then if he's making that, or sorry, the next one is Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, he's gonna win all three of these. Okay, and if he wins all three of those, he better fucking win Most Improved Player. Okay, so my 4 would be that, and then if that happens, okay, I guess my little branch off would be the first team All NBA will be all, maybe not European because Shea's Canadian, but all overseas players or non-American players.
You said it for the All NBA team
All
or
NBA
All
team.
Defensive
All
team?
NBA team.
Okay.
That'd be interesting. I can see that happening. Actually,
I didn't think it was too bad.
The entirety of Joe's ball take, or just the All NBA team?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, really? Okay.
Oh,
I wasn't sure how high. I mean, I thought it was I wanted to reach a little higher because initially I was just putting Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm like, well, I think people could see it. I guess the biggest caveat is how good they do in the regular season, because obviously these voters take that into consideration big time for these awards. Mm-hmm. So if they can make the playoffs, I could definitely see Victor winning all of these awards. Especially, and when it comes to the Defensive Player of the Year, I know they like the high record, but I feel like the voters' fatigue is going to come in at some point on Rudy Gobert. Because who else is in the running when it comes to a big? Maybe Bam.
Yeah, that was who I was going to talk about when we got to the awards.
Okay, so we'll get into it a little later, but yeah, that was my only really bold prediction.
Okay, I mean, I think they have an outside shot at making the playoffs, and if they do so, we're expecting obviously Wemby to be better than he was last year, and he won, or he was second in Defensive Player of the Year last year, so I guess it's actually not that bold of a take. When I heard all of it, like you just rapid fire and all these accolades, I was like, bro, there ain't no way. But now that I think about it, it might be a little possible. It might be.
He'll probably win it this year. DPOY. He'll probably win.
Believe it or not, the hardest award for him to win would be Most Improved Player, because historically, second-year players don't win the award because it's kind of expected for them to gradually go up.
Okay.
Kind of like John Morant won.
Yeah. Well, when I was looking at the previous players, the one thing that I was giving to Wemby is if you look at the most improved names, almost all of them are all-star level players now. So it's kind of like, he might get it at some point, but if he makes a big jump this year, how much further is this man going to jump? Like, because he had a phenomenal first year, you know? So that was kind of my only thing, is what entails most improved. There's a lot of probably factors that go into it, but we're going to have this conversation in a little bit for sure.
I'm looking at the most improved player list. The last non-all-star player to win it was Ryan Anderson in 2012.
Yeah.
After that, every player that's won it has been all-star caliber. Paul George, Dragic made an all-star team one year. Jimmy Butler, CJ, Giannis, Victor. Oh, well, CJ's never been an all-star, but he's all-star caliber.
Right.
Pascal, Ingram, Randall, yeah. Yeah, that award has definitely changed over time. But hey, I guess that's not too hot of a take now that I think about it. It's more... I mean, it is a hot take because, second-year player doing all that
it's a lot.
Still insane. But it could be...
When I was listening, I was like, yeah, this is getting a little hotter. So, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into your guys' then. Bryant, you wanted to go, you said?
I think we're saving Bryant for last because he has the spiciest ones.
Perfect.
So, I'll rattle off my 3. First one has to do with the Australian man named Ben Simmons. I think he returns to a 75% of himself. It's not going to be a full resurgence of the all-star caliber player, the fringe defensive player of the year player that he was in his prime days in Philly, but I think he'll be impactful. I think he'll be a more mobile version of Draymond Green, a more dynamic version of Draymond Green, for Brooklyn, I don't think it's going to translate to wins, but I think every night or so you'll look at the stat sheet and you'll be like, damn, Ben Simmons, 6 for 8, 14 points, 6 boards, 5 assists. It's kind of reminiscent of a little bit of what he was doing in Philly. I think he can get back to that. He's in the last year of his contract, so he kind of has a motive to kind of reestablish his value in the NBA. And this would be the year for him to do it. So if he wants to get some more contracts in the future, he's got to show that, first and foremost, that he can play and stay healthy, and second, that he can be serviceable and impactful. So I think he'll have some games where he'll kind of turn back the clock to kind of reestablish his value in the league.
I hope, dude.
My second one is this is the one I alluded to with the Suns. Bradley Beal will come off the bench at some point of this season. So I don't think Bradley Beal had a bad year last year, but I think his skill set isn't really needed very much in the starting lineup per se. Once you have all of this shot creation with KD and Booker, and you're bringing in a point guard to actually play the point guard, so Booker doesn't have to focus on playmaking. He can be more so of that off guard. You don't really need another 6'5" shot creating gun ho guy to play with Booker and next to KD. I feel like Phoenix could, once they have their point guard and Tyus Jones, Booker back at his normal position, they could use like a 6'6", 6'7" type of defensive wing that can knock down a corner three and just really give his all on the defensive end so that they can address that side of the ball. Because I think offensively they're going to be perfectly in sync with a point guard, KD and Book, and Nurkic screen setting. But I think they're going to need a wing defender to stop the guys like Anthony Edwards and LeBron as well. They need like a point of attack stopper. And if you're going to start Tyus Jones, Booker, and Beal all together, you don't really have that. So I think at some point, Budenholzer is going to figure that out, and he might need Ryan Dunn to be that starter, to be that point of attack defender for them. And Beal can be just himself. He can run the offense off the bench. He won't have to share the court too much with Kevin Durant and Booker. And I think at that point his offense will come a bit more naturally. That's my bold prediction. That's something I think they should do. Just because he's making like $50 million, I think politics come into play, and they don't want a $50 million player coming off the bench. But maybe if they're like the 7th or 6th seed and they need to shake something up, Bradley Beal is the guy that goes to the bench. And then the third one I do have is for Philly. They will not have home court advantage in the first round of the NBA playoffs. So they won't be a top 4 seed. I think most people have them as a top 3 team out east, but I think they will slide to like 5th or 6th in the standings by the end of the year just because of health. I don't think they're really going to prioritize getting the most wins in the regular season because they have to worry about the health of Joel Embiid and Paul George. We saw Paul George already sidelined by some freakish injury. Not freakish, but like just some like random shit with his leg. And you're like, oh man, this is a sign, you know? And I don't think they're really going to prioritize the regular season. Joel Embiid already said he's never going to play back-to-backs.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I saw something like that. He's just done.
That's ridiculous.
He's just done.
So I'm like, yeah, this team is hella talented. They probably have like the best big 3 in the entire league, and that's going to help them in the playoffs, but they won't really need to, prioritize the regular season too much. They got to focus on keeping their guys healthy so that they can actually play in the playoffs, mainly PG and Embiid. So
yeah.
I can see them getting like 47, 48 wins, which will probably be good enough for the 5th or 6th in the East.
Okay.
All right, Bryant.
My first one's not that. I don't think it's that crazy of a hot take, but I say the Spurs are making the playoffs this year.
You said which one? Which team? Sorry?
Spurs.
The Spurs? Oh, I like that. Okay.
I think the addition of Chris Paul is going to really – that's actually a great fit for them. I think they're going to go – they'll probably make it to the 8th seed. They'll probably be like the bottom of the pack.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be up there in the playoffs competing. My next 2 hot takes. All right. Second one, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I don't think the Celtics will make the finals next year or this year. I think they'll get bounced out in the second round. Second round.
Certified Celtic hater.
No. So I think they will not make it to the finals. Jason Tatum's going to have a so-so year. I think they will be the number 1 seed, but I think they'll get bounced out from a fifth or sixth seed. So yeah.
Whoa.
Hold on. And then my next hot take is I got the Miami Heat going to the NBA Finals. I think this is Jimmy Butler. This is his last chance to win the championship. I think it's do or die for him. He got a contract coming up. I think this is the year that the Miami Heat will win the championship. I don't care if it's the 9th, 8th seed, 7th seed. I don't care what seed there is, but they're going to make it to the NBA Finals.
Wow.
Book it.
That is a hot take. I'm not big on Miami at all.
I love Miami.
They'll be lucky they make the playoffs.
A hater.
What have I seen from Miami last year that should make me believe that they'll make the finals?
Can't count last year because Jimmy Butler was injured and he had some personal family problems going on last year. We don't count that year. All right? We're counting this year. Jimmy Butler, this is his year. I would say MVP, but I know he ain't going to be scoring like that, so I ain't going to do that. But I think he'll get his team to the finals, and I think he's going to retire after this year if they win the championship. Book it.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. I'm not even mad at it. Whatever.
Yeah, I can't even. I'm not even gonna say it. Like it's Bryant. I expect this. Like,
hey, dude, just wait. This is their year.
I do want to talk about San Antonio a little bit because both of you guys are kind of high on them. I'm just gonna rattle off a couple of teams out west, and I just want you guys to tell me if you think they'll finish higher, if the Spurs will finish higher than that team or not. Okay.
Okay.
Thunder.
Lower.
Yeah, lower.
Nuggets.
Lower.
Timberwolves.
Lower.
Mavericks.
Lower, probably.
Yeah.
Suns.
I think they could be higher than the Suns, but it just kind of depends on how that big three plays. It really does.
Okay. Memphis.
Memphis, I'm not even sure.
Yeah, maybe
Memphis. It really.
You think they could finish higher than Memphis?
Maybe.
Nah, Memphis is gonna finish like 3, bro. If we're being honest, they probably
last time Memphis was fully healthy, they were the 2 seed.
Yeah, they were like the 2 seed. Yeah, you're right.
And they just added Zach Edey, and they added Marcus Smart.
All right, they won't be higher than Memphis. They might be higher than the Clippers or the Rockets.
Yeah, those are the next team I was gonna say. Lakers,
they can be higher than the Lakers, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I don't know about that, guys. Higher than the Lakers?
I were healthy the whole year last year, and they finished in the play-in. That's why I got.
My thing with the Lakers is it's first of all, it's a new coach, and I just don't have any trust with that team anymore, man. Like
the Lakers got 47 wins last year. You guys think the Spurs are gonna get 40 plus 45 wins this year?
You never know.
Honestly,
that would be an insane increase, going from 22 wins to 45, 46.
Hey, I don't know what they'll make out, but I think they can they'll easily get 10 more wins this year, I think. Now, if they can get 20 more wins, I'm not sure, and it'd actually be like 25, 26 more wins or something like that to make the playoffs.
It's gonna be tough because the 8th seed, the 8th seed had 49 wins last year. It was the Pelicans.
I don't know.
They obviously slid to 8.
My thing is the Spurs just looked a lot better as the year went on. So I kind of take the first 25 games that they played, like they had they had like a 13 or 12 game losing streak or something. I can't remember. But they were trying to figure it out. They had a big spotlight on them too with Wemby being there. I feel like they could figure out some more wins. I don't know who they could take. I think they can be better than the Pelicans. I think they can be. I don't know. I think they might be able to be better. Go ahead.
Pelicans are a deep team, man. They're a deep team.
There's a lot of deep teams. That's the problem. So yeah, obviously, they're gonna It's like it's almost like a hot take to say they'll make the playoffs, which is kind of where we were both at in it. Like I wasn't saying they would make the playoffs, but I could envision a year that they have a really good year. And I don't think Chris Paul, like, I'm a little less big on Chris Paul like that than Bryant is. I don't think he's gonna be that X factor for them, but I think he will allow Wemby to be that X factor. Whereas, like, because when you got Devin Vassell on your team, that shit's just going up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Chris Paul will be able to be like, hey, bro, chill the fuck out to the Devin Vassell, you know? Like, I just think they'll have a better, like, you have a solid vet on the bench to kind of lead this team. You got Greg Popovich. I don't see them doing as bad as they did last year, nearly as bad. Like, I'm not saying, I'm saying 10 game jump is a minimum that I expect out of them.
I don't see them doing as bad as last year, but, like, I can see them flirting with a play-in spot at best. Playoffs is a little.
I'd say play-in for sure. Like, that would be where I would, like, if they're gonna make the playoffs, it's in the play-in for sure. Absolutely. I don't see them being one of the top 6 teams in the conference.
Okay. Interesting takes. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Alright, that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Again, there'll be links in the description. Go ahead and click them. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll catch you guys in part 2.